I received this story from a woman named Danielle, and from the moment I started reading, I couldn't stop. It shook me to my core. Imagine giving your heart, your trust, your whole life to someone, only to find out you were never the only one. Danielle wrote to me with trembling hands and a shattered spirit, and tonight I'm going to share her truth with you. She met Marcus at a volunteer event at their church. He was charming, generous, and always knew the right thing to say. Danielle had just come out of a tough breakup, and Marcus made her feel seen again, like she mattered. He wasn't just a rebound, he became everything. They dated for over a year before he proposed. It wasn't some grand gesture, just the two of them in her apartment after dinner, but it felt perfect. She said yes without hesitation. Looking back, she wonders if that quiet moment was his way of keeping things hidden, no public spectacle, no eyes to question the timing. The wedding was small by her choice because she didn't have much family left. Marcus claimed most of his relatives, lived out of state, and couldn't make it. It made sense at the time. She thought they were just two souls ready to build a simple life together. In the first few years, their marriage was fine. Not magical, but solid. He worked long hours as a financial consultant, often traveling. She trusted him. Why wouldn't she? He never gave her a reason to doubt. He'd come home tired but affectionate, bringing little gifts, always remembering anniversaries. It wasn't until their 7th year. One night, while Marcus was in the shower, Danielle heard a message ping on his phone. It was instinct, just a glance. But what she saw made her heart freeze. A text preview from someone named Mel. Rad. Dinner was perfect last night. Can't wait for this weekend. Love you. Her fingers trembled. She wanted to scream, to confront him right then and there, but she couldn't breathe. Instead, she sat frozen, staring at the screen until the message disappeared. When Marcus came out, she acted normal. She needed time to think, to figure out what this meant. The next day, she searched through their joint documents, bank statements, emails, anything. She discovered a second phone bill under his name. When she called the number listed as Mel, a woman answered. Danielle hung up. She wasn't ready yet. She needed proof. She needed the truth to hit her in the face. Later that week, she followed him. She didn't think she was the kind of woman who would ever do that, but betrayal changes you. He told her he had a business dinner. Instead, she watched him walk into a suburban house, greet a young girl with a kiss on the head, and embrace a woman, Mel. She stayed in her car for an hour, unable to process what she'd seen. A whole family. Danielle began piecing together everything. Every business trip, every late meeting, every unexplained absence suddenly made sense. Her entire marriage had been built on borrowed time, on Marcus juggling 2 lives and 2 women. She wasn't even sure which one of them was the real wife anymore. She wanted to confront Mel, but something inside her held back. Not out of fear, but strategy. She needed to understand what Mel knew. Was she also being lied to? Or was Danielle the side character in a story she thought she was starring in? The uncertainty gnawed at her relentlessly. She started documenting everything. Photos, dates, receipts, evidence of the deception. She needed to see it all lined up like a courtroom exhibit. Maybe it was the only way she'd believe it herself. The betrayal ran so deep, she questioned her own reality. At night, Marcus would crawl into bed beside her, kiss her cheek, and fall asleep like nothing was wrong. And she'd lie awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering how someone could lie so effortlessly. Love had become a weapon in his hands, and she was done being his victim. She started seeing a therapist in secret, not to save the marriage, but to save herself. She needed someone to help her make sense of the chaos. Someone who would remind her she wasn't crazy or weak or naive. Just a woman who loved too blindly. Each session peeled away another. Danielle finally reached out to Mel through a fake social media account. She didn't reveal her identity at first, just dropped subtle questions. Mel was surprisingly open, even eager to talk about her perfect husband. The more Mel shared, the colder Danielle's blood ran. Mel posted photos of family vacations that happened the same weekends Marcus claimed to be on work trips. She gushed about his thoughtful gestures, his consistency, his loyalty. Danielle could barely breathe. It was like listening to a ghost describe your own husband as someone else entirely. Eventually, Danielle couldn't take it anymore. She messaged Mel directly from her real account. Her fingers trembled as she typed, "I think we need to talk. We might have more in common than you realize." She hit send and waited, heart racing. Mel responded an hour later. One word, "Who are you?" Danielle took a deep breath and told her everything, every detail, every date, every lie. She didn't spare a single truth. She figured Mel deserved at least that much because Danielle wished someone had done the same for her. There was silence, but Mel asked for proof. Danielle sent everything she had: screenshots, call logs, photos, receipts. It was undeniable. Marcus wasn't just living a double life. He had mastered it, and both women had unknowingly played roles in his charade. Mel asked to meet in person. Danielle hesitated, then agreed. Not for revenge, not for closure, but because they met at a quiet cafe on a rainy Tuesday afternoon. Danielle wore neutral tones, trying not to stand out. Mel looked just as nervous, clutching her purse tightly, eyes scanning every face before settling on Danielle's. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Mel asked, "How long were you with him?" Danielle answered honestly, "Almost 6 years." Mel blinked, as if absorbing a punch she didn't see coming. "That's longer than I've been married to him," she said softly. Shock in Mel's voice hit Danielle harder than she expected. They compared timelines, holidays, birthdays, medical emergencies. He had built 2 entirely separate realities, one with each of them. There was no overlap, just precision, calculation, manipulation. "He used to say I was his world," Mel whispered. "He told me the same thing," Danielle replied, her voice hollow. It wasn't just betrayal, they both realized it was orchestration. Marcus didn't make mistakes. He made decisions. The conversation turned to their children. Danielle had a daughter with Marcus, so did Mel. Both girls were under 10. "They're sisters," Mel said, stunned. Danielle's throat tightened. "They don't even know about each other." That truth cut deeper than anything else. By the end of the conversation, they weren't enemies, they were co-survivors. 2 women stitched together. Danielle couldn't sleep that night. Her mind kept replaying every moment she'd ever shared with Marcus, his smiles, his promises, his carefully chosen words. Each memory now felt contaminated, rewritten by betrayal. Everything warm turned cold. She stared at her daughter as she slept, innocent and unaware. How would she explain this someday? That her father lived 2 lives and lied in both? Danielle felt sick. But beneath the grief, something else stirred. Fire. She wouldn't let this destroy her. Mel texted her the next morning. "Are you okay?" Danielle replied, "Not really, but I'm ready." They didn't need a plan yet, just solidarity. They were no longer strangers connected by a man. They were allies, quietly reclaiming control. Marcus kept texting, oblivious. "Missing you, babe. Can I come by tonight?" Danielle didn't answer. She wasn't ready to confront him, not yet. She needed more, proof, a strategy. The truth had been hidden for years. Now it had to be exposed carefully. She started documenting everything: dates, receipts, messages. She shared it all with Mel. "He's still lying to both of us," Mel said after reading a recent message from him. "He doesn't even flinch." That made Danielle's resolve stronger. They weren't victims anymore. They were preparing. Danielle and Mel met in person for the first time 2 days later. It was surreal, like standing in front of a mirror that reflected every lie Marcus ever told. They didn't cry. They didn't scream. They sat, ordered coffee, and started comparing. Wounds.mal had pictures, family photos from vacations Danielle never knew happened. Danielle had letters, cards, voice messages saved over years. Together, they built a timeline. His lies overlapped perfectly. It wasn't an affair. It was 2 marriages. He told me he hated Paris. Mel laughed bitterly, showing Danielle a selfie of him by the Eiffel Tower. He told me he dreamed of going, Danielle whispered. It was exhausting but empowering. Each contradiction made them stronger. Their conversation stretched into hours. They found themselves bonding over the pain, yes, but also over their resilience. Neither woman wanted to be defined by Marcus's deception. They were becoming something new, something bold, something unstoppable. I don't want to ruin him, Mel said one evening. I want him to feel what we felt, Danielle nodded. Let's make him confront everything, publicly if we have to. It wasn't just about hurt, it was about exposing a man who built his life on lies. The opportunity came sooner than they expected. Marcus's company hosted a charity gala, black tie, big press, even local coverage. He was scheduled to speak, with Mel at his side. Danielle received an anonymous tip. She smiled. He won't see this coming. They entered separately, both dressed like queens of their own war. Danielle in deep crimson, Mel in midnight blue. They didn't speak to each other all night, but the tension followed them like perfume lingering, unmistakable, drawing eyes. When Marcus stepped on stage, everything slowed. Mel watched from the crowd as Danielle moved to the side of the ballroom. A signal passed between them, subtle, perfectly timed. Mel walked out of the shadows and stood next to him. Then Danielle appeared. Beside her, gasps erupted. Phones came out, murmurs turned into roars. Marcus stammered. What is this? Mel took the mic. Ladies and gentlemen, she began. We'd like to introduce you to our husband. Apparently, he's been a very busy man, Danielle followed. We compared notes, vacations, holidays, birthdays, lies. She held up a wedding photo. He married both of us. Loved neither of us, but tonight, we take back our stories. The fallout was immediate. Marcus's career crumbled overnight. His board distanced themselves. Clients withdrew. Sponsors vanished. He had built his life on secrets, and now the truth was everywhere. Mel watched it all unfold with eerie calm. Danielle, surprisingly, reached out to Mel the next day. You okay? She asked. Mel hesitated, then nodded, getting there. They weren't friends, but they weren't strangers anymore either. They were survivors of the same storm. Mel decided to leave the house they shared. Every corner held lies. She moved into a small apartment, minimal and bright. Danielle did the same. They didn't talk every day, but every so often they'd check in. Trauma has a way of connecting people. The divorce went through quickly. Marcus didn't even contest it. He signed everything away, desperate to vanish. From public view, Mel got the house. Danielle kept the vacation property. Both agreed. The material things didn't matter. Truth did. People online called them heroes, feminist icons. But Mel didn't feel like a symbol. She felt raw, cracked, open, still healing. They think I'm strong, she told her therapist. But I was blind. I let him lie to me for years. Months passed and Mel slowly rebuilt her world. She started a podcast about betrayal and resilience. Each episode, she read letters from women with stories like hers. You're not alone, she'd say. And they believed her because she had lived it too. One afternoon, a package arrived at her door. No return address. Inside, a journal. Marcus's journal. Filled with entries about the lies he told, the libs he chuckled, the guilt he buried. Mel stared at it for hours, unsure if she should read. Eventually she did. Not out of curiosity, but closure. The pages were full of manipulation masked as logic, justifications for every deception. I kept them both happy, he wrote. They never needed to know. Mel slammed it shut. She had read enough. She debated burning it. But instead, she donated it to a women's support group. Let this be a warning, she wrote on the inside cover. To anyone questioning, their gut trusted it wasn't revenge. It was released that Danielle launched a foundation for women in similar situations. Mel helped. They weren't bonded by love, but by survival. They turned their pain into purpose. And while they didn't choose this path, they walked it with their heads high. Mel looked in the mirror one morning and smiled. For the first time, Mel's podcast gained traction. Women from across the country sent their stories, some heart-wrenching, some empowering, each one a reminder that betrayal didn't mean brokenness. It meant rebirth. She got invited to speak at a women's conference in Chicago. The crowd was huge. Her voice trembled at first. But then she saw their eyes filled with understanding and she spoke her truth. Raw, unfiltered, and unapologetic. I was the other woman, she said into the mic, and I didn't even know it. The room gasped. Some cried, others nodded. She continued, but I refuse to wear shame that doesn't belong to me. After her speech, a woman approached her. Your story saved me, she whispered. She had just discovered her husband's double life. Mel hugged her tightly. That was the moment she realized her pain had become someone else's survival guide. Meanwhile, Marcus faded into obscurity. The world he built on lies collapsed. He tried contacting Mel once. She didn't answer. She had nothing left to say. Silence sometimes is the loudest closure. Danielle met someone new. A kind, transparent man who adored her daughter. Mel cheered her on. They had become family. Years passed, and Mel's life bloomed in ways she never imagined. Her daughter thrived, full of laughter and light. The podcast turned into a book, then a movement. Women stood taller because she dared to speak. She still wore scars, but not as wounds, as proof. Proof that she had survived, adapted, and rebuilt from ashes. Every betrayal left a mark, but not one that defined her. Instead, they mapped the terrain of her strength. One quiet evening, Mel stood by her window, watching the sun dip below the skyline. Her daughter curled beside her, asleep with a book in her arms. Peace, real peace, had taken root in her heart. Not because life was perfect, but because she no longer needed it to be. She thought back to the girl she was, the one who believed Marcus's lies, who gave and gave until there was nothing left. That girl was gone. In her place stood a woman who knew her worth and never again would settle for less. Mel smiled. Not every ending is wrapped in justice, but sometimes healing is the best revenge. She didn't expose him to the world. She outgrew him. She created a life so vibrant, his memory couldn't dim it. And that, dear listener,